Good evening to everyone present here. I cordially welcome you all to TechBharat 2021, Empowering EduTech and Health Tech. TechBharat is an initiative of Laghu Udyog Bharati Karnataka and IMS Foundation. TechBharat is envisioned as a platform to support startups and SMEs and be a guiding light to them in navigating their entrepreneurial journey. We thank the Government of Karnataka and Government of India in supporting and encouraging our vision. We welcome you to this session on digital transformation in education management. In the era of 4.0 industrial revolution, we need to look at creating safe and secure learning platforms for a technology-enabled personalized education that provides accessibility and affordability to a 1.4 billion young country such as India. There is a huge divide between level of education between the urban and the rural mass, with much needed lateral shift in mindset, promotion of computer literacy, and adoption of newer teaching techniques for both educators and learners of the rural mass in India, we would be able to close the gap. To discuss this and more, we have an eminent panel with us today. We have with us Mr. Naveen Lakur, who will be the moderator also. We welcome you. Naveen Lakur is a serial entrepreneur turned innovation coach. He loves to inspire enterprises and entrepreneurs to innovate and guide them to grow in the right direction. In his professional career, spanning 25 plus years in the industry worldwide, he has co founded several innovative companies. He has also been a catalyst for 250 plus ideas to have become commercial reality. He is passionate about sharing his practical knowledge of building companies and nurturing ideas. He brings to the table his personal experience of a unique combination of systemic innovation, a structured and scalable approach, and tactical innovation, a frugal and flexible approach. Naveen Lakur is the founder and chief innovation coach at Institute of Inspiring Innovation. We are excited to have you here.
Thank you
We
so
have,
much.
we have Mr. Rajesh Rao, founder, connecting the dots with us today. A graduate of IIT Madras, he founded Connecting the Dots with a deep faith that teaching disciplines like maths and science should be made more practical and enjoyable. We thank you for accepting our invitation and welcome you to this panel discussion.
Thank you.
We have Ms. Purnima, MD and founder of Vismaya Center for Education and Research, a holistic educator and she's a holistic educator and researcher practicing innovation and creative pedagogy. We are excited to have you here, ma'am, and welcome. We have Mr. Anish Baheti, founder, Train My Brain and Concepts Coach with us today. As the founder of Train My Brain and Concepts Coach, Anish has delivered thousands of entertaining, energizing, and engaging conferences. We cordially welcome you to this session, Mr. Anish, and we're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
I now request Mr. Naveen to take over the session and moderate it. Over to you.
Thank you, Vishu. Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction, getting this panel together. So, um, all of them and their specialization is so close to me and my heart. One is talking about creativity, which is the need of the hour in every field, and the other is connecting the dots, the way to really see the future and move forward. And the other one is training the brain. So amazing, and it is very required. So three fantastic people from very complementing backgrounds, and I have to quote my quote from my book, Little Extra, where I say, learning is ordinary, teaching is extraordinary. Well, learning itself is very good. Ordinary doesn't mean bad, but in the process, if we can be that little extra and be at that stage where you can teach, in the process, you get to learn a lot, and there's accountability there with you. And here are three eminent members who've gone through this journeys and been a little extra. So let's hear from them, and including their own introduction. Dr. Purnima, we would love to hear about you and why you think digital transformation in education management is essential in today's terms.
Thank you for the introduction. And yeah, I've been working with education since last 2 years. Before that, I was more into research. So I'm very happy to be sharing this discussion panel with all of you because we are all, I think, working towards the same cause. right now, which is really interesting because I think this discussion will lead to even more innovations and networking that will help in bringing about the change that we wish for. So I have been, as a researcher, I have been involved in biomedical research. But during the journey, I've always been interested in education. I've played teacher game and have grown up. So I think it was always in my heart to be a teacher. Then over the course of time, I realized that it's not being a teacher, but it's being a facilitator of learning that makes a major difference. So I have been in that frame of work since the last 2 years. So what I feel basically is that the most important thing that every one of us should master is the art of learning, because learning never stops. And usually what happens is the learning stops as soon as we graduate, and the actual real learning starts post graduation. So that thing has to be changed, and it is the most important aspect, that is mastering the art of learning. And this is an absolute requirement if we have to make the dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat to be true, because we need the skills of innovation, applied thinking, and conceptual learning to actually make this dream come true. So, what I work for is to bring about that kind of a learning experience in children. First thing is to learn how to learn, which I am in the process of learning, to implement logical reasoning, conceptual clarity, and applied thinking in younger children, keeping in mind that motivation is the cause that will lead to their curiosity. And it's very important to reflect on what we have learned. It's important to unlearn and relearn based on our reflections. So why is digital transformation needed for education is because of what Mr. Vishu Gupta was telling during the introduction, that he mentioned that there is an imbalance in between urban and rural education. And I think that is where digitalization will actually make a big difference, because in especially countries like India, it will make it easier to reach out to the remote areas and rural areas if we have good connectivity and digitalization of the whole education management. So the takeaways of learning should be these: that it should give us happiness, better opportunities, then it should make us more creative, and we must start thinking up in an applied way so that we can come up with innovative solutions to the problems in our daily life. So towards this, what I have been trying to work on is on a concept called Agile Shala, where we want to use the digital system, digital medium, to actually manage education everywhere. But at the same time, it is not only about giving lectures or using a blended learning or flipped classroom model to reach out to the rural areas and giving lectures and stuff. It's more about enabling learning, but hand-holding in the process. So when we talk about the freedom that is needed for children to learn, at the same time, the freedom should come up with responsibility. And that is where Agile Shala focuses on. Here, it's more of learning hands-on through experiential learning, but the management of education happens through following Agile methodology that is currently used in Agile management in corporate world. So we are using that as a model to introduce organized structure through digitalization. At the same time, the actual learning happens through experimentation and mainly through play. So the curriculum is gamified, but the hand-holding of learning happens through the digital agile methodology. So what we dream here is to actually handhold teachers and students, whether the students are homeschoolers or they are schoolgoers. We want to handhold their learning journey so that they have the freedom to learn, freedom of choice to learn what they want. At the same time, they work with responsibility. So this is what we have been trying to do, and this we are launching we have done some pilot work and we are launching in the coming year. So this is a short introduction about how we would like to work towards digital transformation of education management. Thank you.
Very nice.
Wonderful, Purnima. Very nice. Thank you so much. Now, let us look at Anish, and who talks about developing training the brain, right? So how does that happen, and the relevance of that in digital transformation in education management, and about your own self.
Sure. Thank you, Naveen. And very good introduction given by Purnima also. So thanks for sharing your thoughts. So I will give you, Vishu has actually given a very nice sort of an introduction about myself. I'm 41 right now. And when I started my career, I did my CA from India. So I completed my CA. I was in the youngest CA list of India. So I did it at the age of 22. And then once I completed my CA, I started getting a lot of job offers. I tried so many jobs. I will be very honest. I changed about 6 jobs when I was starting off my career. I changed about 6 jobs in the span of 9 months. Now I'm really, really proud of about that as today, because had I not done that, if I have not changed the job at that time, at that point of time, people felt that I'm crazy. I myself felt that, what's wrong with me? Why I'm changing so many jobs. But to be very honest, my decision making was very strong, and I was very clear whether this is for me or not. So I was very quick in making the decision. I wanted to taste the waters. And the entire journey, when I'm trying to connect the dots today, the entire journey seems that it was all trying to shape me in terms of finding my ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese term, and it is all about finding your purpose in life. And I think it was all shaping me to help me find and unpack my purpose and discover what's my ikigai. And finally, I realized that, helping other people, solving certain things, simplifying certain things, inspiring soul, these are all certain things which I was really made to do in life. And train my brain is all about inspiring individuals to pursue their life in a way, or to design their life and shape a business around their ikigai. Shape a business first, discover their ikigai, and then build a business around it. So that's all train my brain. It's like inspiring individuals to pursue that path. And then Concepts Coach Australia, I've lived in Australia for about 12 odd years. And being a CA, I have been in the last 14 odd years, I've been helping a lot of Australians to understand accounting and finance in a very, very playful manner. So the reason I'm sharing this these are two different businesses, two different market segment, and two different, one is all about inspiring people, and the second is all about simplifying numbers. But the whole idea is, I personally feel that I personally feel that learning and teaching, all this should be made insanely simple, insanely simple. If you cannot explain a concept in about 60 seconds, it means you are not that much clear. It is too much complicated into your head. You cannot make it really, really simple for the other person. You have to come down at their level, put it in a very layman's term, and they should be able to understand the concept in about 60 seconds. Remember, conceptual clarity. If the foundation is really strong, they are going to feel more excited. They are going to feel more motivated to learn more about that concept. So it's good that you keep it really, really simple. So that's one point which I really want to put into my introduction. And second is, keeping it very experiential, as Purnima, mentioned in her introduction, keeping it experiential, making it playful. So I've created a couple of, I've designed a deck of cards. It's a 52 cards in which, when you're playing with the cards, you can learn accounting. Anyone from non-accounting background can learn accounting without even looking at the PowerPoint presentation, just playing with the cards in 90 minutes flat. So I've created that product. It is, I'm sharing, I've already created a digital course on that, so video on demand course on that. And people are just learning in 90 minutes. Imagine if you are a startup, if you are an entrepreneur, you don't know anything about balance sheet, income statement, and someone teaches you 90 minutes without making you feel embarrassed, just making you play with the cards, and that's it. You get it, in 90 minutes. So that's my USP. It took me about 13 years to do that, but I'm glad it's live. People are liking it, and the course is on a lot of online platforms now. On the same lines, I felt that no one, absolutely no one can make another person motivated. You can only give them a spark. That's all you can give. Then they have to take, it's all about self motivation. So if someone says, okay, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to motivate you, it's going to look very nice for maybe 30-60 minutes. You will feel really pumped up and you will feel, yes, I'm on the top of the world and I can do anything. But as soon as you walk out of the room, you're back into your own zone. So no one can actually motivate you. You have to motivate yourself. So on those lines, I've created another deck of cards. It is called as Life Deck, and it teaches concepts on life, like things like stress, things like minimalism as a concept, how to take anger, how to deal with irritation, a lot of concepts on life. There is a card which is on that particular concept, and then people learn about that concept and try and understand how I can solve that concept and try and relate on to that in their life. So again, it's a deck of 52 cards. It's a physical product. It's more on the lines of emotional intelligence, building emotional intelligence using a deck of cards. So, and the video on demand courses. So obviously the digital transformation is happening in the physical sort of a course which I've created. So in short, if I have to just sum it up, keeping it really, really simple, so that you can connect with the audience. So 60-second rule sort of, if you can make it really short, crisp and simple, it will just make it easier for the learner to understand and take on board certain things. Second is making it playful and experiential, and just give them enough spark, just give them enough a platform where they can actually just grow from that, learn certain things from you, and then just grow from there, from that section. So basically, yeah, those are the 2 or 3 points which I really want to raise. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Anish. I think I loved, even I had created one of the product on the 52 cards on how to differentiate and how do you innovate and move forward. I like the one that you said on, for learning accounting, right? So might be a fantastic way to show the difference between business and gambling, right? And cards is the best way to communicate that. I would love to ask you, how do you want to differentiate, the learning in terms of the gambling versus the business?
Naveen, is that question for me? Is that question for?
Yes, because
yeah.
It's a fantastic product that you've designed. I would like to learn something out of it.
Oh, sure. So it is like, let me just tell you, the way it has been structured is anyone from a non-accounting background who doesn't know anything about what is debit, what is credit, what are assets, liability, owner's equity. So the cards are in such a format that it's nothing to do with gambling. You cannot gamble with those cards. It's all about.
I understand, but cards typically when used for a tool for gambling, right? And there is a conception of association of risk management when it comes to risk in the gambling versus business. Both has big risk, but there is a difference between the two. And I thought it's a great opportunity for everyone to learn about, how, the distinction and the nuances. And while business is business, it's not gambling, and gambling is gambling. It's not business, right? People need to
Mhm.
understand that and learn from it.
True, true. So it is when we think of deck of cards, that is something like the way I have projected this product. It is called as numbers deck. Even if you want to just Google it, you'll come to know numbers deck. And the way I projected or promoted this deck of cards is all about making it playful.
Yes.
How you can make accounting learning playful, because whenever I see people, I personally, I will give my example. When I was sitting and studying, say, CA, and when we were doing accounting, a lot of jargons, they use a lot of jargons, because someone on the stage feel that the student should be at that level, and they start from there. But usually a lot of students are not that at level. They are actually at a very low level. You have to actually come down to their level and make them understand. So when I was sitting as a student, I felt, this, what the professor is saying is going, above my head. I cannot just grab whatever he's saying. And, it was very difficult for me to understand. So it was always in the back of my mind that how can I make it simple? How
Yes.
can I make it so simple that anyone, any layman who has never opened the book, like I've got students who are, I mean, I don't want to boost, but I've got students who are at the age of 60. They are at the age of 60. They are learning CPA in Australia and learning online from me in a span of 90 minutes. They have never opened an accounting textbook. There are people who have stopped going to the university and the colleges in Australia. So in a way, they feel that, okay, maybe 90 minutes with Anish is as good as, three lectures in the class. So it's good that to get the foundation right.
Actually,
So
very essential. If you look at
yeah.
today's trend, most of
Hmm.
the entrepreneurs who are leading the way to build the nation and the economy per se, they are coming from tech background, and they're building great companies. They don't understand the fundamentals of the accounting principles, which is very essential for business, right? So,
True.
and I like the way that you're using the deck of cards to teach accounting, where one side is the accounting, the other side are the softer sides, the principles, and what
Hmm.
is required for that human values, and
Hmm.
to run a business,
Hmm.
and run your life, right? These are life skills. And
Exactly.
unfortunately, our education system is focusing so much on few subjects, and not necessarily giving enough importance for the life skills, which is
Hmm.
very important for life itself, right? So
Exactly. Exactly.
I hope digital transformation in education management takes a holistic approach, and for that, definitely we need to connect the dots. And right time to move to Rajesh Rao, who specializes in that and who teaches that, and would love to hear him out about himself, and at the same time how he connects the dots and how he helps teach other to connect the dots. Rajesh, over to you.
Thank you. I would like to start by saying that I wish I were a cartoonist. I spent many years of my life creating cartoons, but I have been an engineer and now an educationist. So do look up my cartoon website on my Facebook page. And my many years in the IT industry and the strange things that happened in the industry inspired me to create all these cartoons. And now that I'm out of the IT industry, I have lost my inspiration. But then there is, I must tell you that there is more muck in the education system. So I think I can start creating cartoons all over again. I'm an engineer from IITM, like I said. I was in the US for my post graduation. I spent 20 odd years as an engineer, many of them in Infosys, worked in different parts of the world. I started this organization in 2013. Fundamentally, it was with a motivation to bring high quality education to more people. I mean, that's as simple as it gets in terms of a mission statement. It is a matter of great distress to me that we are so far behind on almost every measure in terms of conceptual understanding, in terms of problem solving skills, in terms of being able to apply and solve real world problems, in terms of their ability to learn new things. Right? The goal of the system seems to be to prepare students for the next exam, uh, and no more. Right? And some of you spoke about the bigger challenge called life. We talk about India in terms of having a demographic dividend, but I think it's already become a liability since we are talking of accounting terms. I think it's a hardcore liability. We expect 20 crore people to enter the workforce in the next 1 decade, and who is creating the jobs? Who has the skills, right? And it actually distresses me, and it distressed me enough to have to quit the job and start this to do whatever we could in our own way. In the last 7 years, we have been imparting education to kids between grades 6 through 12 on an online platform. And we reach children in small towns, villages in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana. 80% of the students who get education from us are government school kids. We teach them free of cost. We're funded in different ways. And we do classes for them throughout the year. And the central philosophy of our approach, it's linked to some of the things that Purnima and Anish said. Purnima said something about learning to learn. I don't remember how she worded it, but kids don't seem to know how to learn. They don't seem to realize that learning is a continuous process, right? And we have to get them to uh, open up their minds, be willing to learn something, be curious. And Anish said something very important, that is a central part of our philosophy. Can you make it simple enough that the fear goes away and everyone sits up and says, this I can understand. Why was I afraid of math? Right? So these are the principles that we incorporate. And while I talk about learning to learn and making things simple and application knowledge, the vehicles we have chosen to do this are science and math. Right? And we teach syllabus oriented concepts, but in a manner which is very different from what is done in schools. Every concept is connected to the real world through experiments. We actually conduct experiments while we lecture, through demonstrations, with practical applications, through natural phenomena. We talk about environmental sustainability. Every concept in science and math is taught this way, through live lectures where we interact with the students every day throughout the year. So there, it's a dialogue I have with, my colleagues and I have with 16,000 students every day, because these students log in from different parts of the state at different times of the day. And we do it in the local language and all that, right? So, and these are live. And because of our methodology, they begin to realize that it is not as complex as it first appeared. I'm a teacher myself. So in addition to running the organization, I teach. So there are, what has started now as a digital transformation in education is a wonderful thing. It's a welcome thing. There are many issues that need to be addressed. Perhaps during the course of this conversation, I will have an opportunity to refer to them, but this is much needed. And I often speak with regret that the one sphere of human activity in India that has changed very little in the 40-50 years is education, or what happens in the classroom. You can go back, I went back to my school from 35 years ago. Nothing has changed. It's the same syllabus, taught in the same way. Nothing has changed. Everything around us has changed. And if we believe that that education system can prepare students for a future that we can't even begin to describe, we can't describe what the future holds for us in the next 10 years, 15 years. How do we prepare them for a working life that goes 30, 40 years into the future? We can't. We're kidding ourselves. So unless we fundamentally change the way we teach them, get them to learn, become more curious, become less afraid, the country is doomed. I'm a bit of an alarmist.
Actually, good. Thank you for that. And two things that comes out. One, the alarm. I think it should be loud enough. and it should reach every corner of the country and even the whole world, right? I see a same problem being there in other countries too. While we think it is India overall, it is there as a problem. But at the same time, the way change is happening in an accelerated mode. Unlike earlier, now we live in an internet era, which is every 3 calendar months is treated as one internet year. So that's the pace at which we are changing, right? And technology has become part and parcel of every field. And today, even the VCs, when investors look at opportunities, so they look at ed tech as more important than the education as an industry, right? Ed tech industry it has become. So and technology is disrupting and changing things rapidly, but the way we have been learning and the syllabus or the mindset, that has not changed much. So and with digital transformation in education management playing this role of disruption, do you think is it freedom or is it taking it away? Because we are just after the Republic Day and we are talking about change, we are talking about freedom. So I think it's important to get your views on, is digital transformation in education management freedom, giving you freedom or taking away freedom?
Anyone in
Let's
particular?
go with Anish, and then we will have few dots getting connected from Rajesh and some creative ways to hear from Purnima.
So that's a very good question, Naveen. See, if you ask me personally, I would say digital transformation is all about freedom. I would stick with that because, see, I mean, I would have never imagined. I mean, I do a lot of workshops where I go to cities like Pune, Bangalore, to run my own workshops, and people come down, join the workshops. But I would have never imagined that. You know my sessions or my workshops can be run into a smaller, like 90 minutes or 60 minutes sort of workshop, and anyone from the US, UK, Singapore, Dubai, people from New Zealand, Australia, obviously they are joining in the same room, and they are interacting in the same session. So for me it is like, as an educator, as a person who's inspiring other learners, it's a very good platform. It is also good for the people who are on the other end, because imagine they're not traveling to the work shop place. Forget about parking. There is a huge issue about parking. You don't find the parking space where you go to the event, etc., etc. So you're cutting down all the costs. You can sit in your PJs and you can learn from the person who is maybe 10,000 miles away from where you are sitting. So it's a very good platform. It's a very good way, actually, digital transformation. So from my perspective, it is all about freedom. But the only problem happens is, the connect. So right now we are here, we are interacting. We all are from different city, in India, and we are interacting. But that hook part, can you keep those people engaged? Can you keep them, can you keep it very interactive? Can you keep it very live? Because the only flaw which I feel in online space or digital world as compared to a brick and mortar sort of a space is that you don't have that physical sort of a face-to-face connect. Now, if you can inspire them, if you can keep the hook, if you can give them enough inputs and make them realize that, okay, they have to answer, they really need to learn about that. I mean, you create that much curiosity and interest in that subject. You make it fun, you make it playful, so that they don't switch off. It just takes about 15 seconds, to be honest, less than 15 seconds for someone to switch off. If I'm talking something, if they don't like, if they don't want to learn about it, they will just be there and their mind is somewhere else. So you have to keep it in short bites. You have to keep it simple, again coming back to the same point, and you have to keep it interactive, playful. Then digital transformation is all about freedom. That's my take.
Wonderful. Over to you, Rajesh. Let's hear. Is it freedom, digital transformation in education management? Is it freedom or is it taking away of freedom?
No, I think we are on a journey. It's a much needed journey, right? Digital transformation has started. It is very welcome. I cannot see any other way in which the problems of the country can be addressed. The chronic shortages, the woeful quality, some of these problems that we are all aware of, right, can be addressed in any reasonable time. But I think the process has just started. There are any number of issues before we can celebrate, right? While somebody was pointing out recently that so many hundreds of millions of dollars have been poured into the edtech sector in the last 6 months, billions in the last few years. It's a very small segment of the population that benefits. They're spoiled for choice. If you look at how many of these edtech providers cater to the bottom 90% or 85% of the population, right? Hardly. In fact, there was one VC that told us that if you're not catering to the top 5 crore Indian families in the country, then we will not talk to you, right? And that was their perspective, and it is very revealing where the money goes, right? The 100% of that, billions of dollars that have been put into edtech, I have no doubt have gone to catering to the same people who are spoiled for choices, right? I think that is a travesty. And the second thing is, what COVID has done is it has made it necessary. There is a greater acceptance of this stuff, right? Everybody realizes that something online is, I can still learn, but it has lowered the entry barrier to such an extent that, with a camera, the smartphone, and free Zoom, I'm an online teacher, and that has created abysmal standards, right? The fact that the entry barriers to teaching online are zero, right, is appalling, in fact, and that muddies the water a lot more than creating some entry barriers. The third thing is it creates a distance with the students. So we were already short of skills, right? We have some theoretical knowledge, but Indians lack skills of any kind. We really do not go to labs. We don't tinker. We don't build. We don't experiment and fail. None of that is part of our culture, right? Schools don't have labs. This distance thing makes it even harder. It takes a difficult situation and makes it worse. So there are all these situations which are now problems that we are discovering and have to be addressed. But that we have to embark on this journey, that it is the only way these problems can be solved, I have no doubt.
Wonderful. How do you think creativity could play a role, Purnima? And is it, according to you, this whole digital transformation, is it taking away freedom or giving you freedom? And how do you express it creatively?
So I would say that the creativity is using this in balance, because anything too much is bad, right? So digital transformation is very welcoming, but at the same time, it is about how we use it and how we integrate it to the actual learning that is happening in our houses or in schools or anywhere we are, whatever age group it is. I think digitalization is a tool, and it's how we use this tool will give answers to the problems that we have. And when I work with small children, I would like to thank COVID for this one aspect, that before when we were thinking of doing sessions like Mr. Rajesh here, I've been working with children on experiential science and maths learning. And we do a lot of workshops based on phenomena-based learning pedagogy to increase that curiosity and stuff. So my son is 6-year-old, and we wanted to engage that age group kids in developing curiosity. It's not about science; it's about developing curiosity and a questioning mindset around what they see. So we were really scared when COVID came and we had so much plans and we couldn't do those workshops. We couldn't get the children together. We finally thought, okay, we will send the materials all home and we will do it online. Then a lot of people asked me, how will you make 6-year-olds sit in front of a system for say 45 minutes to 1 hour and keep them engaged to learn? I said, you join, let's see. We will see how it works. But we were so shocked, surprised that they were the age group which did marvelously in online platform than the older kids. These children were there because they were busy playing around. They didn't care who is, whether the other person is there in front of them or away from them, but they were engaged. And as far as their hands were active and the minds were active, they didn't mind on how it is happening. So that actually made us relook and rethink about a lot of things. And I would say that it is all about integrating the online platforms and the offline learning in the right percentage, to get a balance, and that would create wonders. And how we integrate it, how we reach out without compromising on the hands-on learning or experiential learning, especially for the younger age group, is where the creativity will come in, because we should come up with creative ways, so that it should not be like they're right in front of the system and they don't want to get up, right? Because that is the age when they should not sit down like that. At the same time, we should be able to reach out to them. So this is where the challenge is, and I think we have enough creative people, creative minds in India, that we can definitely come up with solutions for this. The only thing is to actually do it and try it out.
Absolutely.
The other thing I feel is digital methods have helped. It depends on the age, basically, which age group are we looking at and stuff. So when it comes to higher age groups, especially in sciences, where things become more abstract and there is a lot of imagination required, when we are talking about orbitals and stuff in chemistry, I give examples of chemistry that comes naturally to me, but it becomes very difficult for children to think of it or imagine it. They will have their own imaginations. So that way, all these e-learning platforms actually can make a huge difference. So I would say that freedom is always good. So this is also a freedom, but as I quote, freedom should always come with responsibility, and that responsibility is ours on how we decide to use it.
Fantastic. Very well said. Freedom need to come with that discipline and that responsibility. It makes a big difference then. And we talked about these opportunity and COVID, which has created this, neutralized and created a big opportunity landscape. How do you think with this fast adoption of digital transformation happening because of COVID, how do you see the opportunity landscape in front of us? Well, the alarm is already rung, and here is an opportunity. At the same time, India is a place of a lot of challenge. If you look at the spread, the diversity, you can see it as an opportunity or as a big challenge, right? And if you look at China as a market in education sector, they do something like $22 billion in opportunity, right, business. Whereas when it comes to India, maybe it is around projected to be 2.2 billion. So one of the reason being the diversity and the number of languages, whereas for Chinese it is one local language which is helping. Or if you take France, because English is the way that the globally the education system has got adopted to now. And France, if you take local, so easier maybe to manage if it was just one language. Here as in India, with the diversity and the opportunity, how does it look like in digital transformation, in education management for each of you? So let's start with Rajesh.
Sure. Yeah, the fragmentation causes some challenge, and also there is overcrowding, right? It's a wonderful opportunity, no doubt, but because the entry barriers are so low, there are a lot of organizations. Around September or so, when we were deep in the middle of the COVID pandemic, I was counting one new company a week. And that was being reported. Maybe some were not reported, so maybe there were more than one a week, right? So, uh, like I said, large parts of the population are not served, not addressed, and everything is catering to these, English-speaking, urban, affluent families, right? But only about 35% of the students in India go to English medium schools. I think that is an enormous opportunity. And if I think of myself as a social entrepreneur, right? I cannot ignore that, because if the needle has to move in the country, then that those 65% have to be raised, right? It can't be that everybody is serving the same 5 crore Indians or whatever that is, right? So that is a very big opportunity. The second opportunity is to provide a different quality of education, right? Everyone provides very similar kind of education. There is a very brief description of a concept followed by mind-numbing practice, right? And until it becomes muscle memory, it's really a bore, right? It is possible to teach complex, abstract concepts, making it easier to understand, making it practical, right? I think that part of the spectrum is completely untouched. I'll give you some examples. Khan Academy is an established, like a gold standard in tech, right? But never do they refer to one practical application of any concept. Not once, right? It's the theoretical concept and no more. They never show one experiment. What is the point if I tell them that the rate of change of magnetic field causes the induced EMF? Who understands that, right? Nobody gets it. So it is through experiments, it is through practical applications that students understand. Almost every provider, and there are these famous providers which choose to animate things, that only makes it less accessible. A complex animation doesn't make it easy to understand. A simple experiment shows them that it is really simple. There is no rocket science. I think there are opportunities to teach differently. There are opportunities to reach different segments. And these have to be packaged in a way that becomes attractive to those who can put in the capital. Because most people believe that if you're not serving the upper, the Baiju category of customers, then you don't exist at all. And that has to change.
Yes, fantastic. The teach and the reach, very well said. Let's move to Purnima. Can we get your thoughts on the COVID, which has played as a catalyst role for innovation? How does the market opportunity in digital transformation in education management look like?
So I would say that we were talking about how the different languages in the country is a challenge that we face. I would say that COVID has made people think about how we can learn at home. People never explored that. So I would say that it's a great opportunity if we can create atmospheres in such a way that this learning doesn't happen only in schools, but at home, and as parents, we become a part of the learning process, which I think is lost in this country. For parents, the only thing is like you look for a good school. The more expensive it is, the better, and give all the good resources and leave at that. I think that is the mindset that we have to change if we have to come up with a solution for the language aspect. We should become community that works towards learning. So giving that environment for learning. So then it becomes much easier to implement national education policy also, because they're emphasizing on how mother tongue is important for learning, and that when we think of a universal plan to do that, it's difficult. We need to have one common language if it has to reach out to everyone with one solution. So the only way is to include the families and the local community in the learning process, so that whatever is done is translated into that mother tongue, the comfort where the child can learn. And this was one of the main reasons that we thought, like, if parents or the school is able to implement learning, but that learning pedagogy and curriculum should be uniform and it has to be of the same standard everywhere, then they will be able to translate it. Whether we communicate to them in English, because maybe I do not know uh, Bengali and I cannot talk and teach in Bengali to the children in West Bengal. But if I can communicate my ideas or the curriculum or the pedagogy in English or Hindi to that person, then there in their community or in their house or in their school, the adults can actually translate it to the mother tongue and give that experiential learning there. So I think uh, it's and I would say that that would be the best, and that would be the positive aspect of having different languages, because then we will not be able to sit in front of Khan Academy and learn everything. We will need everyone to participate in learning, and as a family we should get involved. And COVID has made people realize, I hear so many mothers telling that, actually the online schooling didn't work that well, so we started interacting and the children are learning better when we teach them. That is because naturally we are using our own language. We are, we can, it's easier to make it simple.
This brings out that point on what Rajesh was mentioning, and we need to connect the dot here, where is it important to teach parents first? Is if we want digital transformation in education management to happen, and it's known that if children are learning in their mother tongue, it's easiest way to learn, right? So is it important? Because earlier it's in Bharat, India, the education, the challenges are very different. And many of these problems was already addressed by Bharat. Can we tap into the wisdom? And that is where mother was the first teacher for every child. And that is where probably the mother tongue, when taught in mother tongue, is the easiest way to learn. But today, I hear that, between husband and wife, 2 cell phones sleep. Okay. And the children who are born are already tech savvy. The mother tongue is technology today, right? So, and it's in universal now. So that's the way it is becoming because of the penetration of technology that way, and cell phones. And in fact, I have to tell you one observation that I made with one child, 11 months old, couldn't speak much, not yet, crawling, and found a cell phone, Apple phone, and it could navigate. Nobody taught her. She could navigate, play the song, and watch the movie or the clip that she wanted. Put it in any directory, doesn't matter. It knew how to navigate, and nobody taught anything. And
Apple will make her the brand ambassador soon if you keep telling the story.
Absolutely, it looks like that could be the best selling after Steve Jobs. It could have even competed him, saying look, ease of use and technology, and 11 months old, they are so quick, they will learn. It's just about, are we creating opportunity? And over to you, Anish, to know what is the opportunity landscape with especially COVID playing the role of this catalyst for innovation.
So some really good points, Naveen. And see, basically, I will break it down in terms of what I have. Instead of just talking, I will just tell you what I have done in this space. So just pre-COVID, I had launched this deck of cards called as Life Deck, which is a 52 deck of cards, and it is all about self-motivation and building emotional intelligence. And then a book was written. So on that. So that is all pre-COVID. Now, coming down to how do we, post-COVID, what happened? What are the things which I had to change, or what are the things which I have to add in order to make it reach out to a lot of people? Certainly, I would have to create videos. So there is one card. So the book is also very, very simple. It's 2 pages, because there are 52 cards, 52 pages. So there's one card and the explanation, second card and the explanation. So it's very, very simple. Again, the book is very simple. The cards are very simple. You can keep the card in front of you so that you can just introspect a lot on that card. But then when the videos were created, what I kept in mind, and I want to also highlight what Mr. Rajesh has said, and also I'm going to connect it with what Purnima has said. how do you make it? Um, the only thing which I kept in my mind is that video, that card, one card video has to be 60 seconds only. If you can keep it in 60 seconds, if you can teach them that card in 60 seconds and then let them work on that card at their own time, at their own pace, then you have done your job. So the entire 52 videos were very, very short, simple, just give them the explanation and let them practice at their own time. So that was post COVID. That only happened post COVID. So, otherwise I would have never thought of creating a video on demand course. And it would be not an opportunity for me. So thankfully, both the deck of cards had been converted into video on demand. But again, keeping in mind that how you can make it simple and how you can keep it in 60 seconds or maybe 90 seconds so that they can digest it at their own time, at their own level. Uh, that's basically what I have done in my sort of area, and I feel that that's how there is an ample opportunity. No doubt there is an ample opportunity, but the only problem is, can you keep it engaging? Can you keep it really, really short and crisp? And does the learner get something out of it so that they are hooked to it? And that's about it. Because if you can do that, if you can keep the quality in mind, if you can keep it really, really short and simple, and if you give them that sort of a path which they are doing it by themselves, like taking one block at a time, they are building that block at their own pace, then I think there are no boundaries. You can reach out to so many people and teach them life skills, teach them accounting. There are different areas which you can go through that. So I think that is how I would
Yes,
answer.
I think this is bringing out one leading question to where do we see this opportunity? You typically, when we talk about education and in digital transformation in education management, natural for us to go to this K-12 comes in as a very natural opportunity. But the spectrum is much larger. As you said, in accounting to in the higher education, in the research field. I don't know which all possibilities are there. And with digital transformation, I think this canvas is much larger. I'm sure there's a lot of insights that could come out of you, and because of the paucity of time, and there are several very interesting questions which is coming from our audience. I would like to bring it up.
Naveen, I'm really sorry. I just forgot to connect what Purnima said. I will just take one more minute. So, in order to reach, so I was just speaking with the education minister in a couple of states, and when I presented them the book and the deck of cards, they said, Anish, can you translate this in Kannada? Can you translate this into Telugu? Can you translate this into Gujarati? It's very much possible. All you have to do is hire someone who can convert those videos into the vernacular language so that you can reach those people. So I think that is very much possible. You don't have to do it in English, and you have to explain it to somebody else, and then they can translate. You can even hire someone, convert those videos into their vernacular language and let them experience it. So I think I just wanted to put that point as well.
Sure, thank you. So as I mentioned, the landscape is large, and there is only limited time as what happens in life. So here is the situation where there's fantastic questions pouring in. I would like to bring it up to this panel where you are free to jump in and take any of those questions that you would wish to add some value to it. The very first one, I like it. Setting up of a virtual private university. Is it a solution for increasing affordability and addressability of higher education in a country like India? I know you're already doing for the bottom of the pyramid and in the K-12, right? 6th standard to the 12th standard. So this is at a higher, for the higher education, if it has to be a virtual university, just to bring affordability and accessibility, what do you see it as, and how do you see it as an opportunity?
I would like to take this question.
Yes.
Uh, apart from the K-12 education, in the field of biomedical research, have been working on instructional design and stuff related to the higher education in biomedical sciences. So I have been interacting with LSSDC, the Life Science Skill Development Sector, Government of India, regarding this, where they're trying to come up with e-skilling platforms. So I would say that a virtual university would definitely be a good thing, but the main problem would be in creating the required infrastructure. Like, it depends on what field you're working on. For example, the field that I come from, I used to work in biophysics as an electrophysiologist. So we need a system that is like, the whole setup of a patch clamp is, it cost minimum 1 crore. So if I have to use learn hands-on or do some research with that, then I need to have access to that system. But there are some fields where virtually things can be done much easily, wherever there is more of use of bioinformatics or informatics as per se, depending on whichever field it is, using big data analysis, or in biomedicine, how now the genomics and proteomics are playing a role there, it is possible. So I would say that it cannot be applied to all the fields, but uh, if there are good centers everywhere, that whenever they need hands-on and work to be done, they have access to it, then I think that would really bring down the cost and also help in reaching out to more people. But this is a challenge we faced in biomedicine, because all the molecular diagnostics and other courses that we had designed, the challenge is how will the children learn it through hands-on, because we have students, rank students coming out, they don't know how to prepare a buffer in the lab. So they start from day one of their PhD to actually learn. So only those who have already had experiences and internships and stuff know how to do it. So this is where the challenge would be with a virtual university.
Wonderful, Purnima. When I was listening to you, I had too many questions floating in my mind. One is because you are talking about the biotech and so on. So TechBharat 2021, the theme is based on two principles this time. It's on education sector and the other is the healthcare. So looks like you have a lot to share in the other session too. And we are talking about digital transformation. And it's all paradoxical today with you. It's like, digital transformation, and I see you seated in front of fantastic number of books behind you. So which one do you prefer? The touch and feel, or is the digital one?
I would say for the interactions and for learning from far distant places, I can sit and learn from, and I can listen to a lecture from MIT sitting here. So that is where the digital transformation really is a boon.
So you are a
I would love
combination.
to have a book in my hand.
That's what, you're a combination of physical books at your back and a computer screen on your
I have
front.
a Kindle Unlimited subscription also.
I have a couple of things to add.
Yes.
Like in other segments in education, I'm sure digital can transform education at the university level as well. But there are 2-3 things that are a problem, a bigger problem at the university level. One is, so much of our schooling is about individual performance, individual rank. How much did you get? What is your rank? That's the kind of conversation that parents have with children. University is an opportunity to prepare them for the outside world, where collaboration is a necessity, right? There are projects, there is teamwork, there is dependence on each other, and an entirely digital university will rob them of it. They will be wholly unprepared for personal and professional life. If they get married, they won't know what, everything in life is about collaboration and partnership, and that will be denied.
They'll probably learn how to virtually marry.
Something like that, right? And the second thing is practical, and Purnima spoke about it. There is so much value to being in the labs, being in, doing hands-on work, because the problem starts with schools. They hardly do labs, and it gets worse in university. And if it's all virtual, then they are denied that. And the third thing is, already there are so many cases of malpractice. People who are not fully deserving, people who don't write their own project reports, people who don't complete their own thesis. They just get their degrees because they pick it up from somewhere else. I think the rigor will further come down if it is all virtual. Some semblance of control that we have will disappear. I think the standards are so low already, right? It will get even worse. I think these are problems they have to address before Otherwise, there will be a guy with a PhD with no knowledge of the subject. I mean, it's already the case, but then it gets worse.
So one important point that you're bringing out is, as much as the intervention and the involvement of digital happening, how do we use it to ensure that the quality is going up on education rather than going down? So you can't dilute the quality, rather, strengthen it. And technology and digital transformation in education management should ensure that the quality is improving rather than going down.
And
Right?
I just want to add one more thing. I'm sorry to take more time, but as an entrepreneur and as a person who has worked with VCs, you will appreciate what I'm saying. If you're evaluating a company, most VCs will look at scale, never impact. Now,
Yes.
how many VCs want to know? So, what impact did you really create? It's not even part of their DNA, right? So, everybody caters to scale. Impact be damned, right? And that's the way it operates.
And education, the very fundamental of education is the impact that it needs to create.
Yeah.
I think it is probably an important factor to be part of, or maybe figure out. It's an opportunity again from the government side, or even the other ways of funding and supporting the education as a system, right? So this brings the next question, which might be very appropriate. That the point that you made, Rajesh, is India is a country of many languages and culture. How challenging will this be in digitizing education? That's the question. So any of you who would like to take it up?
Since they are on mute, so I started off. It's a one-time investment we have to make, right? And I also believe that technical education, science and mathematics, has to switch to English fairly early. And this may be something that many people disagree with, because the shock of getting into 11th and 12th in English medium, and I encounter kids of this kind all the time, 10th standard in Kannada medium and 11th in English. Science and math are hard enough in 11th. And then you put them in the situation where they have to deal with English. It is a crime, right? They have no chance of doing well. So we destroy lives of lakhs of students, right? Like that. So I think, we should actually consolidate and reduce the number of languages they learn technical subjects in. Let them learn literature, poetry, songwriting, conversation in whatever language. They should be celebrated, but not trigonometry. Why learn trigonometry in Tamil or Kannada? In which company will you apply it? Where will you go? And all these other examples, China is doing it or Germany is doing it. You can't compare the German economy with Karnataka economy, because that would be that is the situation we'll end up with. So I think we should reduce the language challenge by having
very nicely said. I think there is a message here. We'll use the language, the local languages, to foster creativity and use the common language. As children, they can learn any language. And in fact, there is a study which says it's the elders that who we think that is a burden to children, but as a child they can actually pick and manage 16 languages parallelly without having to mix. When they are child, their brain is just like absorbing anything and everything and can manage. So can we actually understand the power of that brain? I'm sure Ani should be able to share some thoughts on training the brain, right? So India is a country of many languages and culture. How challenging will it be in digitizing education?
See, Naveen, I have slightly different, take here. So I am a very firm believer of the concept of ikigai. I'm a very firm believer of, a person who is really interested in learning painting. Language will not be a barrier. They will learn in any language. If they really want to understand painting, if they really want to understand songwriting or music or dancing or plumbing or whatever area they really want to explore, that is something which they really love to do it. I think language will just be a mode or way to take them understand, because they will find their way to understand that language in order to understand songwriting, in order to understand that particular area. So I personally feel that we need to spend more time. So I was very interested in the previous question, which was on virtual university. I think if someone starts virtual university, the very first session should be on understanding why do you want to study this subject, or why are you sitting in this virtual class to understand this subject. Why do you really want to understand this? When you know that that person is really interested in that particular maybe economics or accounting, and they are really into that subject, then language will be just a mode. It's just like understanding and going through that in order to get that skill. So it's very important to understand and inquire and make them understand the why behind that particular segment or sector. That will be more interesting. We should be focusing more time in terms of uncovering that. So yeah, that's my, I think language is just some sort of
Like to add one short thing to this. So I feel that it's when we say its medium of instruction is mother tongue, it should not mean that whatever you are learning should be in that language. The thing is that since English is globally required, and even to interact, and in this globalized world, it's very important to interact with outsiders also. I see when I've attended conferences in Japan and all, I've seen big professors sweating when they had to actually talk to us in English. So I would say that language is a tool again, it's a medium. So we need to learn English, and not English just for the sake of it, but spoken English so that we can express. But when we are teaching or we are learning or we are discussing, say we have a common mother tongue, the way we express would be more different. It's like we can come out with better emotions. The EQ would be higher when we are expressing it in our own language. But it should never be a barrier. English, since it's globally accepted right now, I think whether it is a Kannada medium or a Tamil medium or a Telugu medium school, the interaction can happen in the mother tongue. But when you're learning technically and getting into a professional thing, they must be ready with English also. So the spoken English should be concentrated. That is what is lacking. People hate English. I've seen schools, alternate schools, who hate English. And then finally, when the children come to high school and they can't express themselves, then they start thinking why they are not able to communicate properly. So I think that hatred should go, or the extra love should not. It should be like, okay, we don't partialize. This is my mother tongue. I'm comfortable, but I learn English because I need to interact with the whole world. I think with that open mindset, we should treat languages as just a communication tool. Things will
Actually,
sort it out.
actually, that triggers to the point, which I think even during the COVID, it's more experience. And based on what you are explaining, it kind of leads to the next question from the audience, which is how is the role of a teacher changing with more and more adoption of e-learning and online teaching? In fact, more than the students during this pandemic time, it's the teachers who have been stressed out more, right? So let's hear from all three of you if you have anything to share, and then I'll have one last question after that.
So I would simply tell this answer in 1 minute.
Yes.
The thing is, the teachers should allow the children to lead their classrooms, then they will never feel technically disabled. And whenever we are trying to do a teacher-led session, and the teacher is going to give lecture, and there is a student, the students are there sitting silently, they will be eating and sleeping, we never know. That is the challenge the teachers are facing. I think the thing is that all that lecture-based thing can definitely work through flipped classrooms like e-learning, where e-learning can be used. And the interactive sessions with the teacher should be more on discussing problem solving and clarification of those concepts. There is no point in giving the lecture, which I can hear somewhere at home in 5 minutes.
Absolutely. You're giving one cue, and I think I'll take it as an important point to be noted. Digital transformation in education management needs to be led by children, the students, not the teachers. So I get that as a cue, right? Out of the box thinking, maybe, yes, right? So over to you, Rajesh. Would you have to say anything?
Yeah, I mean, it puts so much creativity, it makes so much creativity possible for students as well, that questions become an important part of teaching. right? Teachers in India are so used to lecturing, and questions are very rhetorical. Did you understand? That is not a question, right? I mean, did you understand is not a question. So, or what is Newton's law? That is not a question. I mean, that's in the textbook. But to ask questions where they have to do a little bit of research, a little bit of thinking, a little bit of maybe trying something at home,
Correct.
right? The questioning is a
Application
lost
side of
art.
it, right?
Sorry?
Yeah, the teacher's role, as you rightly brought out, in the way it is been in the recent times, it's more of the academic approach and the theoretical approach, and less on the application side of it. And the teacher's role here, and especially if it is going online, how do you think it can be done? It's actually a double-edged challenge now. One is, as it is, teachers are not accustomed to bringing that curiosity, asking those questions, experiential learning, trying, and now all the more online and e-learning. So how do you enhance that?
I've been conducting few sessions on integrated teaching with teachers in the last couple of months because of this problem that I've seen when I work with other school teachers, and we try to, train them on how we can actually use the COVID time for effective learning. I think the main thing is we have to train the teachers to think a little differently and equip them with the tools, right? Digital tools that are easy, user friendly, and they can easily pick it up. Once they know the tools, they will automatically, when they want the children to learn, they will come up with creative ways. But we need to inspire them to learn those tools, show them what all they can do with it, and mainly open their minds towards integrating digital platforms with their classrooms, whether it's during COVID or post COVID. I think that is absolutely required.
Okay. Anish, what do you have to say?
Yeah, so I think there are two aspects here. One is a lot of teachers who, and please correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of teachers who are going from offline to online mode, they might not be that much tech savvy. So one area, one aspect is to make them ready, make them technology savvy, how to use the, say for example, Zoom, or how to use the, the online platform so that they can connect easily. There should not be any sort of a hiccup in the technology side of the teaching. That's one aspect. Second, which I personally feel is very, very critical, is the teacher who is teaching that subject. Are they in love with that subject or not? If they are in love with that subject, so say for example, I'm teaching accounting, I should love accounting deeply. If I love accounting, then the kind of questions which I'm going to ask would not be things like, as Mr. Rajesh said, what do you understand? No, I would be rather asking you, I will be teaching them a concept, and then I will ask you, what do you think about it? When you say what do you think about it, it helps them bring out their creativity. It helps them put them into, because usually what happens is when someone teaches you, okay, do you understand this? Yes, 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 they will say yes, 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 and then nothing goes into their head. Because they have to say yes, everyone has to say yes, otherwise the teacher will say, okay, you stand up, why don't you understand, etc. So you have to teach them a concept, and then you just become more like a spectator. You just watch them, and you will be surprised. I'm telling you honestly, I get surprised when I teach a concept and then I ask them, what do you think about it? And they come up with a different view on that particular, why don't you do it like this? Because you have given them the liberty to go
Actually,
crazy.
Anish, this actually also leads to one important cue that you're bringing out as an opportunity. In fact, in the digital transformation in education management, there is a opportunity which is opening up for new age teachers to be trained. There is a need for education for teachers itself is a big opportunity out there, because it's not the same way as what it has been done, and it's love for subject. The other is in terms of ability for you to connect and manage and engage with the new generation digitally, right? So fantastic point. This leads to the last question, which is just amazing, interesting. It could be a short answer from each one of you, and the question is, should we worry about the quality of education now that digital dissemination of education is easier online and digitally? The ounce of quality and standard lies with whom?
Well,
Facilitators.
Because technology makes it easier for us to reach millions of students, a bad teacher can cause immense damage. So the responsibility of doing the right thing and teaching well lies with the educator, with the teachers, more than ever before. Worst case, earlier they would do damage to 50 minds. Now you're going to damage 10,000 at one time. Power of technology. So I think it is a very, and which is what I said earlier. Lowered entry barriers. Anyone is an online teacher. So yeah, it's the petrifying thought.
Wonderful. So he says those who have the responsibility to educate, that is the educators. And what's your approach or verdict, Purnima, in terms of choice?
Yes, it would be the facilitator's responsibility, because as Mr. Rajesh rightly pointed, uh, now if you even ask a question, immediately they will be Googling. And unfortunately, most of the time, the first answer that comes up in Google is a wrong answer. And they would have blindly copied it. So that means so many people would have just blindly copied those answers and thought that is the right one, that is the right explanation, and we become responsible for communicating the wrong aspects to even more people than being limited to a classroom of 20 children. I think that is where the whole burden or the responsibility is on the facilitators.
So facilitator, there could be other options too, like the government from bringing the policy, or is it the parents who needs to initially be engaged in selection? And let's see what Anish has to say.
So again, I've got a slightly different view here. So obviously, teachers are very they play a huge role in terms of creating the quality content. But trust me, and I kid you not, usually, say for example, someone has just created a course and they have put it online on YouTube. Someone else is watching it. 10 seconds. If they don't feel connected with that content in 10 seconds, they will switch off. So the judge are the learners. They are going to judge it very, very, even though you have put it, the quality has to be there. It has to be crisp and it has to connect with the right audience. 10 seconds, if you can keep them engaged, then they're going to listen more and more. So I think quality, from the quality point of view, yes, the person who is creating the content or the teacher, they are really, really responsible about it. But then the learners are very, very smart. They are really smart. 10-15 seconds they will come to know whether you are real or whether you are trying to copy and paste it from somewhere, and they will make it out, and then they will try and switch off or they will be engaged.
So who has the responsibility?
The responsibility, as I said, of creating quality content lies with the creator or the teacher. But the judge, the people who are going to, the learners, they are very smart in terms of judging whether the quality is up to the standard or not. Yes.
So know your customer well, and
Yes.
and design for the new generation, which is going to be adapting to digital transformation in education management, can be successful if only reaching and touching the education, the person who's learning, right? Keep them in the center, right? Fantastic. That's what design thinking.
Many times the students may not have a choice. For example, the government of Karnataka was putting out classes on a Doordarshan channel, right? And that's the only thing that kids have in rural Karnataka. And if they put mediocre content,
yeah.
So you're talking about savvy students who can take the decision that this content is not good. I think most people are denied that ability to think and ability to choose. So I think the onus is so much on the.
Absolutely. I think it's just not about one. There is a need for a combination of all of these to come together, right? Definitely the core is about the content which is being created, the person who's educating, and in the early stages, it is the parents who know how to support. At the same time, have right policies which will set higher standards and bring progress and create opportunities, right? And the other side is, don't forget, the person who has to learn, they has to be there in the center stage. So fantastic, with many thoughts, and had a great opportunity to interact with you all. And it's nice to connect amongst ourselves, right? Who are all passionate about the education sector, and in the sector where digital transformation in education management is happening at a very rapid pace, and technology playing that catalyst role. So best wishes to all of you, and thanks for sharing your thoughts and bringing your experience and the wisdom to the forefront, and very liberally sharing it. I hope our audience have benefited out of this and gained some knowledge and insights out of this session. Thank you so
Thank you
much
for having
to
me.
Tech
Thank
Bharat 2021 for having education as one of the core focus segments for this year as a theme. And there is a very big requirement in this segment because a lot of disruption and impact to be created. So over to you, Vishu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naveen. And thank you, panelists. It was a very, very intense discussion and from very different perspectives shared. And I'm sure, yeah, I mean, I think we can all conclude that digital transformation is inevitable, but there are few challenges and obstacles, I would say, that we need to overcome. And it's for the education industry as a whole to think over it. Thank you so much. A heartfelt gratitude to all
And
of
a
you.
big opportunity also. It's a big
Absolutely.
opportunity too.
I thank all the panelists for accepting our invitation to be part of this panel discussion. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thanks, Vishnu. Thanks a lot to all the panelists. Thank you very much. Nice
It was very nice meeting you all online.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Nice
Thank
meeting you all.